Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our sixth annual Equine Industry Symposium 2021 and our second virtual Equine Industry Symposium. My name is Kirtan Hector, and I'm one of the organizing members of this event. I will also be your MC for the night. This year's theme is opportunities, and this evening we will be talking about opportunities in careers and education. I hope that everyone had a chance to answer our first poll question for today. So let's take a look at the results. It looks like we have a lot of students here with us tonight and other equine professionals and enthusiasts. I hope that after tonight, you have gained some insight and found diverse opportunities within the equine community. I would also like to announce that Equine Guelph has created an online platform called Equine Job Track, which is a new central meeting place for employers and job seekers. It will provide a one-stop place for all the racing industries in Canada to post jobs, and it is free service funded by the horse industry for the horse industry. So please do check out the current options posted. This is the third session for the symposium. The first session was social license to operate and public trust, which was about communication and earning the trust of the public. And the second session was inclusivity, which introduced how the equine industry accepts people of racial ethnic minorities, physical disabilities, social and economic exclusion, and urban participants. For those of you who have not attended the previous two evenings, recordings of the session can be found on the Bachelors of Bioresource Management YouTube channel, and we encourage you to subscribe. On behalf of the University of Guelph, the Equine Management Degree Program, Equine Guelph, Ontario Equestrian, and Equestrian Canada, we are excited to have you join us this evening. Although we cannot meet in person this year, we hope to make this evening as enjoyable and interactive as possible. I would also like to take this time to thank all the Bachelors of Bioresource Management Equine Management students who have organized and put a lot of effort into putting this event together. I would also like to thank and mention by name the careers subcommittee students, Marika, Emily, Buse, Kirtahan, Allison, Ashlyn, Sophia, Lisbeth, Jane, and Kendall, who are all working behind the scenes of tonight's event. I would also like to send my thanks to our guest speakers who are all here this evening: Christine Rupke, Natalie Keller-Reiner, Catherine Lefrancois, Brandon Hall, Lindsay Nikoneshny, and Nina Alcombe-Fry. I would also like to send a huge thanks to KX 94.7 New Country FM, who are our exclusive media sponsors for the evening. Please watch this short message from them.
Hello, I'm Rick Nida from KX 94.7 New Country FM. Welcome to the 2021 University of Guelph's Equine Industry Symposium. KX 94.7 is the proud media sponsor of this year's symposium, and here is a little bit more about us. KX 94.7 is Canada's #1 country radio station, launched in August of 2011 with a 100,000 watt signal. KX 94.7 serves the communities of Hamilton, Guelph, Waterloo, Kitchener, Acton, Fergus, Burlington, Oakville, and the rest of the Golden Horseshoe, from Niagara to the western boundaries of Toronto. Country music has never been so popular, especially within the younger generation. KX 94.7 audience is upscale. 46% live in households of $100,000 plus income. 29% are executives, professionals, or managers, and 61% have a post-secondary education. Canada's Country Music Association's 2014 Personalities of the Year, Toff and Melissa, kick off the morning show from 5:30 to 9. Then it's Linda Martelli till 2 p.m., followed by Durham on the drive home till 7 p.m. Mike Fuller hosts evenings and weekends. Thanks so much for allowing KX 94.7 to be part of this year's event, and please enjoy the symposium. Thanks.
Thank you, KX 94.7 New Country FM, for the wonderful message. Before we invite our guest speakers, I would like to go over a few netiquette reminders. Please have your mics turned off while each speaker is speaking. After all speakers have spoken, there is a Q&A session where you are encouraged to raise your hand virtually through Zoom and wait to be called on. Then turn your mics on and ask your question, or if you prefer, you may type your question in the chat box, but please make sure to keep your questions appropriate. At the end of the event, we will be donating to equine charities on behalf of the speakers. To do this, we have completely left it to you guys, the audience, to help us choose an equine charity to donate to. There will be a poll survey with a list of charities as seen on the computer screen, and the charities with the most votes will be the ones that we will be donating to. You are able to see the winning charities on our Facebook page and Instagram. To kickstart this evening, I would like to invite our first guest speaker, Christine Rupke. She's a veteran of equine sports for 35 years with countless experience, from competing as junior and amateur to coaching, judging and competition management. Her focus rests on competition management, athlete skills development, program development, and event execution. She currently holds the position as Director of Equestrian and Breed Sport at the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair and is also the competition manager of the Classic Series horse shows. Please welcome Christine Rupke.
Hey, Kirtan, thanks so much for having me, and thank you so much to the university and all of you students who are here tonight. And thank you to everybody joining us. I see we have lots of people still coming into the room, so thank you very much for joining us. I hope you guys think this will be a great session. I'm very excited to be part of this evening's event. I feel that our industry, as in the business of horses, has a lot to offer everybody and has a ton of opportunity for you, either directly with horses or in a side avenue, as kind of where I've landed. As I said, I've been in the business for over 35 years, and that means I've held a lot of different positions. I'm an agricultural college graduate and from ag business, and that really helped me to lay down the foundations for my next role as a professional rider, professional horseman, and coach in the industry. I spent a good 20 to 23 years strictly coaching and taking people to horse shows. And from a business standpoint, you need to know how to budget accordingly, deal with your clients, deal with the horses, how to make plans for the year. So all that stuff was a big learning opportunity from my college days. Over the years, I also worked for many different professionals, gaining practical knowledge, and that really, really helped me hone my skills to become a better horseman and a better businessman as well, too. A lot of respected trainers really taught me a lot of what I know today, and it was everything from practical work with horses right through till, the ethics of horsemanship. My focus for this discussion here tonight will be about the business portion of the equine industry. As I said, I was a professional horseman, and in 2012, I decided to kind of take a different tack and change my career within the industry, but still I wanted to do something with horses. I was approached that time to perhaps help, and was I interested in helping with the Royal Horse Show as part of the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair. And my position at the Royal encompasses so much in terms of ag business and so many different things, but I still get to work with horses a lot. I am a policy analyst, a financial analyst. I budget. I'm just looking at my list here on the side, and it's a pretty big list. I'm a footing expert. I'm a hospitality and sales person. I'm an event planner. I do the master scheduling. I write contracts. I deal with our provincial, national, and federal or international, equestrian federations. So I also deal with sponsorship and fulfillment. So there's a lot of different things in the industry. And I think part of the discussion here tonight, and what I hope everybody takes away from it, is that you can work directly with horses. You can work in a barn. You can be a barn manager. You can be a rider. But if you're interested in business, there is an infinitesimal amount of opportunity for you guys out there, particularly if you're in school for sport management, or if you're in school for business or MBA. There's a ton of things that you can do. Some of the major horse shows around the world have full-time staff dedicated to selling sponsorship, dedicated to event planning. In my position at the Royal, it's funny, we always have the running joke inside the Royal that, what do you guys, everybody always says, well, what do you guys do for the rest of the year? The Royal's only 10 days, but an event that large, that encompasses 300,000 visitors, that is a full year of planning. And particularly this year, going into our 100th in 2022, it's a huge undertaking, especially where we're still, potentially with COVID impacting us. And 2 years off and out of market, not having an event, you almost forget. So right now we're in the review and planning stage. So we do a lot of planning. I also, as one of my jobs at the Royal, is I hire all the entertainment. So when you see the RCMP or the rodeo or anything like that, I've been responsible for securing all of that entertainment and doing different stuff as well too. So I'm really pleased to be part of this event here this evening, and I hope everybody takes an opportunity to ask of all our speakers here who have volunteered their time to ask some questions. You know, there's lots of good questions out there, I'm sure, so I'm looking forward to having them. But if you have anything, please do let us know. And I'm really thrilled to be here this evening. So guys, take it away. Kirtan, back over to you. Thanks so much for the introduction.
Thank you so much, Christine, for taking the time to come and speak with all of us tonight. We are glad to have you join and share your knowledge with everyone in the equine community, especially for those newcomers into the industry. So thank you very much. As we continue for the night, we have a second poll question for everyone to answer. It's great to see that different resources are being used to educate yourselves and expand your knowledge on horses. I personally am a hands-on and internet learner, which I see most of you guys are. Thank you for everyone for sharing your learning style. This can help someone try different learning methods to see what works for them. Remember, we're all one community and we all need to help each other for the betterment of the horses. Our second speaker for tonight is Natalie Keller Reiner. She is the author of equestrian fiction, specializing in the equestrian lifestyle. Her books have a popular following around the world and sport several award nominations and win, including the 2020 American Horse Publications Fiction Award for The Hidden Horses of New York. Her work can be found at nataliekreiner.com. So without further ado, please welcome Natalie.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having me tonight. As we just got started, he said that I specialize in equestrian fiction, and I also specialize in starting really slowly. So as I get my head together, I'll just embarrass myself a little. Yeah, I'm a writer. I spend most of my time by myself, surrounded by books. You can probably see behind me. I write equestrian focused fiction. So generally, I describe it as women's fiction and or literary fiction that takes place in the horse industry. Horses are always a central part of the story. They're not window dressing. Characters deal with real life equestrian issues as part of the plot, not just using a farm as a setting for some other sort of, I don't know, murder mystery or what have you. One of the reasons that I got into that was because I have worked in the horse industry a really long time and I've just never come across a murder. So it didn't feel particularly relatable to me. And also reading murder mysteries makes me anxious. So I actually started publishing about 10 years ago. And I think it's really key to say that I'm an independent publisher. So if you listen to indie music, you know that artists produce their own work or work with their own producers, things like that. That's what I do. I work with my own editors, my own designers, my own proofreaders, and I publish my own work myself. It allows me to write equestrian fiction the way that I want. And 10 years on, it has allowed a lot of other people to enter the market as well, which is really, really cool. So if this is something that is at all on your mind, if you want to write a horse book for a grown-up someday, or I don't know, a horse book for kids, or even a murder mystery, you're welcome to do it. The market is there and ready for you. I got started as a blogger. So way back in the days of yore, I had a horse blog. It was called Retired Race Horse Blog. It was pretty popular at the time. And I moved from that into my lifestyle dream, which was to be a novelist and write my first novel. At that stage, I had already worked in upper level eventing as a groom and as a rider. I had worked on thoroughbred breeding farms and as an exercise rider. I had groomed for top dressage riders. I had really extensive equine industry experience. And all of that hands-on experience and my ability to accurately describe places like Saratoga or Tampa Bay Downs, or what it's like to foal a mare, all of these things became a really important part of the book. The first book I wrote, The Head and Not the Heart, that was sort of a question for my own life to help me figure out how I was dealing with horses, how I was dealing with the equestrian lifestyle at the age of 30. And I think that that's pretty common. When you write a novel, it's generally because you're trying to understand something better. And I think a lot of equestrians want to try to understand our life better. We have really similar challenges, but they're not necessarily something that's replicated in the sort of outside world or the real world, whatever you want to call it. So I want to help other people think about their struggles in a curious and healthy way. And so I do that through my characters and my exploration of what equestrian challenges really look like. I think fiction is a great way to help us dig into challenges and sort of put ourselves in the shoes of situations we might not have been in, but we'd sort of like to know how we'd handle them if we were. And so you can tackle crazy big topics that maybe we can't have civil conversations about in public. We can talk about things like racehorse retirement, or we can talk about diversity in the show ring, or all these big scary things we can kind of distill into understandable situations when we put them in the context of fiction. So that's something that I try to tackle in all my different books. I do try to talk about things like how our land is being developed, or the difficulty of balancing our horses with our real lives, or of running a horse business. I write about amateurs and I write about professionals. I write about things that are relatable, but I also write about things that are fantasies. It's part of growing an audience, giving different readers what they want, but it's also really important to just sort of dig into what makes us horse people and find our similarities and find what we can relate to, and really just work on that conversation, I think. And, some people are always just going to say a book is a book, and that's okay too, because they're entertainment too. That's okay. I don't know where I'm at, but a couple of things I just wanted to point out is that publishing changes really, really quickly. So if you're interested in publishing in any shape or form, don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to pivot when you see a trend coming. Just sort of always be ready to jump on an opportunity when you see it. 10 years ago, I jumped into independent publishing because all of a sudden people had Kindles and they didn't know what to put on them. And it was an opportunity to say, I'm not going to send this book to an agent and chop it up into something that's good for everyone. I'm going to write a book just for horse people, and I'm going to publish it for them. And that's become a career for me. Don't be afraid to embrace different channels. Like, for example, Kindavella is a new channel. It's only available in the US. So it sort of depends on who's watching this, whether it's an option for them. And a lot of people said, well, this isn't going to last that long. Amazon's not going to put enough money into it. It's not going to work. It's been a great opportunity to make some cash with stuff that's already published in other formats for different types of readers. So whether it lasts or not, it's a different type of publishing. It didn't take that much effort to get into, and it's another income stream. When you're in a creative business, probably when you're in a regular horse business, anything else, diverse income streams are really important. And that kind of leads me to my final point on that, which is networking and relationships. Everybody in equestrian publishing knows each other. And if we don't know the other person by sight, we're probably 3 people removed from them. I was just at an Equine Expo last weekend, and I was amazed at how many people I knew versus how many people I had been meeting there for 10 years, or I've been working on projects with, or I knew somebody that was working on a project, and so we got connected to do something else. Editors, product managers, people who need copy written, we all end up knowing each other. It's a very small business. So I recommend being really nice, using social media as an opportunity to network rather than to grandstand, and just being prepared for opportunities to come up. Go for it.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for taking the time to come and speak with all of us today. I had never thought about making a career of writing equestrian fiction before, but you have given us all some great insight into how you can bring together 2 different passions and careers as one. Our third speaker for the night will be Catherine Lefrancois. Catherine is an equine sports therapist and veterinary technician who received her master's degree in equine science from the Hartbury University in the UK, a bachelor's of bioresource management degree in equine management from the University of Guelph, and an animal health technology diploma from Vanier College in Quebec. Following her master's degree, Catherine completed an internship at Eclipse Equine Sports Therapy and Rehabilitation Center in California to gain additional hands-on experience. Recently, she became a certified equine rehabilitation assistant from the Animal Rehab Institute in Florida, USA, with which she hopes to continue building her business and growing her services with the eventual goal of opening a full-service equine rehabilitation center. Please welcome Catherine.
Hi, everyone. I am Catherine. I want to thank the organizing committee for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. As a graduate of the BBRM program from the University of Guelph, it is an honor to come back and share a bit of my journey with students who are looking to work with horses and with other industry professionals who are here tonight. So as was said in the introduction, I work as an equine sports and rehabilitation therapist in Quebec. I work as part of a multidisciplinary team of 9 veterinarians and an equine chiropractor. More specifically within this team, I work with clients either through veterinary referral or direct contact to build therapeutic exercise programs to help either bring their horses back to work after an injury or to help them with performance-related issues. Right now, I work in an ambulatory setting, so that means I travel to work with owners and their horses at their own barns. But my eventual goal is to open up a rehab and sports therapy center in my area, because there aren't many in Canada altogether. So I couldn't have told you when I started my post-secondary education that this is what I'd be doing on a day-to-day basis. My career path kind of developed as I went through my different degrees and experienced different parts of the industry. I know I could have used tonight's presentation to discuss a bit more about rehab and my job more in depth, but I actually wanted to make it a bit more about the student viewers that are here and this concept of letting opportunities and experiences shape what you end up doing as a career, because I think this is a really important concept. So what I do is really a blend of everything I've learned throughout my various degrees. I started off knowing I wanted to work with animals, so I started off doing a veterinary technology program here in Quebec. But I knew I wanted to eventually do more specifically horses. So then that led me to doing the BBRM program at Guelph. And then even though I had never really thought about higher education above an undergraduate degree, a few specific experiences and teachers within the BBRM degree actually led me to developing a passion for research and academics, and I decided to do a master's degree. To do my master's, I actually went to Hartford University, which is in the UK, partially because there's no master's degrees in North America that are offered in equine related topics, but also because I wanted to experience the horse industry in another country, and because even though by my 4th year undergrad, I knew rehab was really what I wanted to hone my interest in, and Hartford actually has a full service equine therapy center that students can work at or volunteer at while they're completing their studies. So for me, that was a perfect opportunity to learn about the specifics pertaining to equine rehab and what goes into that kind of work. After I completed my master's, came back home, and until I could really figure out how to get a rehab center off the ground, because let's be honest, it's really hard work and it's complicated and it's really expensive, I returned to work at an equine hospital as a vet tech that I had worked at the summer before I left for my master's. So I was still just kind of toying around with the rehab idea, not really sure how to get started. I was playing around with some of my friends' horses doing some rehab, but really just on a low-key for fun basis. I did another internship too to keep my brain fresh. But I actually came about doing rehab by meeting a student at the hospital that I worked at, who, when she graduated, decided to start a new equine vet business, with a colleague. I met with these guys and just kind of discussed about how I could incorporate rehab into their practice. And we kind of just invented a position for me. And 3 months after the business came about, I was hired and I've worked with them for the past 4 years. So I basically took everything I liked from each of my degrees and then made up what I do right now, which is why my job is a bit out of the ordinary and a little bit less known. So the medical knowledge I need to understand the injuries I work with stem from my vet tech degree and my work experience. Business, horse management, and welfare knowledge that I use in any interaction I do with a horse comes from my BBRM degree. And then the more precise biomechanics, exercise physiology, and rehab modalities, those obviously stem from my master's degree. So my point in all of this is that even though you might start out thinking you want to go into a specific job or a career, your path and your educational experiences might actually bring about your career instead of the other way around. When I graduated, I thought I would just work in a rehab center or build one from scratch. I had no clue that I'd be able to work with clients from their own barns and yield really great results in an ambulatory setting. This leads me to the main point of what I wanted to talk about tonight. So the topic in this panel tonight is opportunities. And I want to use my own education and career path to highlight what it looks like to seize opportunities and use your experiences to build a career path towards something that's uncommon or new within the industry. The horse industry is one that's continually evolving. Education and science-based practices are gaining in importance for professionals in the field. And I think this allows for tremendous opportunity to build new types of careers that may not already exist. I think giving yourself learning opportunities to explore gaps within the industry allows you to tailor your profession to what you're most interested in and what you feel is lacking in the industry. So that comes to my first piece of advice, which is obviously to obtain whatever sort of education or training that you can have access to. So whether that be a university degree, diplomas in equine related studies, or even online courses, which is on the rise with the current world climate. The beauty of an equine education program, such as the BBRM program at Guelph or what I did at Hartpury, is that they're meant to give you a taste for as many aspects of the industry as possible. So you can figure out what you like, whether that be business, breeding, journalism, sport management, training, whatever it may be. And then once you figure out what you're interested in, my biggest recommendation is to make the most of any opportunity that increases your knowledge base in that area. So speak to professors that work in similar fields, tailor your projects or your research papers to your field of interest. Do extracurricular work and choose courses that fit the skills that could potentially be required in that area. Even though educational programs have set curriculums, there are always ways to make the most of the resources available to you and tailor your educational experience to your field of interest. And though I keep talking about honing in on your interests, on the other hand, you can't be afraid to keep an open mind and take opportunities that maybe aren't what you would have expected to be interested in, because there will always be something that you can learn from that experience. I don't work in small animal medicine at all. I did it for a couple of years, but my various jobs as a small animal vet tech were my first experiences running veterinary practices and working with veterinarians, which became vital once I was trying to gain more experience in the equine medical field and now in my job with the vet practice that I work with. Another really important point to charting your own career path is your engagement level. The more you show interest, get involved, and put yourself out there, the more opportunities present themselves to you. I was actually offered a job in my second year university from a guest speaker who came to speak to one of our classes about the industry. I asked a lot of questions. I engaged with them during the presentation. I went up and chatted with them at the end of class, and they just offered me a summer position right then and there. And again, this job wasn't specifically tailored to my medical and rehab interests. It was with Equestrian Canada. But that job taught me a great deal about the sports side of the industry and gave me a job for 2 years while I was in school. So that was really important opportunity that I could have not been exposed to had I not been an engaged student. Engagement and open-minded attitudes also applies to your interactions with your professors. So the more you're involved in discussions and ask questions and get involved inside and outside of class, the more your teachers get to know who you are and get to help you figure out what to do after your degree. There's 2 professors that are actually on the organizing committee tonight that played a huge role in me figuring out what I wanted to do and preparing me for my master's degree, because I was engaged in class. I was involved outside of class. I had numerous opportunities to chat with them about their experiences and bounce ideas off of them. Throughout my undergrad degree, I tried to get as involved as possible. I started riding clubs. I participated in all the college fairs and open houses and represented the school. I was on student council. All these opportunities allowed you to build connections with your teachers and your peers and learn more about the industry. One of the biggest things that got me into my master's degree was a special research course that was just for a credit. That's what kind of introduced me to the research field for the first time, and actually led me to working with a supervisor and getting my writing really improved, and then led me to applying for my master's degree. So my point is that even though educational programs are set up to help all students succeed, your actual chances of success within your chosen industry are based on how you use the resources available to you, and how motivated you are to learn from your experiences. The more you're involved within your school and the industry, the more you have access to professionals who you can learn from in a variety of settings and who you can eventually network with when you start your own careers. So I'm hoping I've managed to convey tonight that regardless of what you do and how you engage with the people and experiences you're exposed to is an immense part of building a career. Building a business that doesn't already exist is possible in all facets of the industry, but it takes resourcefulness to find professionals and experiences you can learn from. And then it takes a lot of hard work, research, and networking to get that business off the ground. But if you've made good connections and lasting impressions on the people throughout your education and your work experiences, you have a whole host of resources that are available to you to get this done. In the past 4 years that I've built my rehab business, I can't count the amount of times that I've used my resources and the people I've known, even people I haven't spoken to in years, just to get their advice or mentorship on a project or on a specific direction I want to take within my business. And on the flip side, as a professional now who I've had the chance to train and work with students and interns in a variety of settings, the success of these individuals hasn't been about only their knowledge and their skills. It's about how they've engaged and how willing they are to learn and participate. And these are the students that now I'll think of if I want to refer a student that's looking for a job, or refer them to other professionals in the industry. So it's important to remember that if you've made a good impression throughout your life with people you've learned from, they want to help you out and see you succeed. And this is when unexpected opportunities present themselves to you. So I hope that was helpful to anybody participating tonight. And thank you very much again for the chance to speak tonight.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for taking the time to come and speak with all of us. I have recently thought of becoming a veterinary technician after my studies as well. Your presentation has given me a lot to think about my career and education pathways and gaining opportunities. This event could not be possible without generous supporters like KX 94.7, New Country FM, who have brought excellence to radio broadcasting services for 10 years. Our next speaker for the evening will be Nina Alcombe-Fry. She's a mental health practitioner incorporating equine interactions into trauma treatment, and she leads the postgraduate training program in equine-assisted mental health. She is the director of equine programs at the Institute for Human-Animal Connection at the University of Denver, USA, where her work encompasses therapeutic human-horse interactions and equine behavior and welfare. We are pleased to have her this evening. Please welcome Nina.
Pleasure to be here. I'm coming to you all the way from Denver, Colorado, USA. And what a lovely opportunity to be able to participate in the Equine Industry Symposium in Canada. So it's about, I wanted to tell you a little bit about how I ended up where I am now, share a few tips. We heard some great ones here with our previous speaker. And then I wanted to use the second half of my time with you to tell you a little more about my topic, which is horses in human health and learning services. So when horses are incorporated or included in human services. So different industries than the horse industry, but still horse skills and horse knowledge needed. So I grew up in a village in Western Finland. I'm a Swedish-speaking Finn from the country of Finland, where my family had a boarding stable, you would call it. And I competed as a junior rider in show jumping and dressage. I also started training some horses at our barn more informally. And as a young person, late teens, I also completed a certificate in equine management. I trained as a farrier. So I engaged in the horse industry in a number of ways, but I knew I loved people. And I thought a lot about how people think and function. So I ended up studying psychology when I went to university and also later in graduate school. And once I was at university, I still kept up some of my horse activities, but at that time was starting to focus a little more on, again, psychology and being a psychologist as a career. But I ended up writing the first thesis in Swedish in Finland on the topic of including horse interactions in therapy. So this had been happening mostly on the physical therapy side, but it hadn't been written about that much. And I really had to convince my advisor and main professor about this topic, and he allowed me to do it because I was a good student. And that continued to be a theme in my life, in my professional career, is that I had to sort of convince people to pursue some of the things I wanted to pursue, but I was able to, because people said, well, you're smart, you're active, you're putting a lot of effort in, maybe there's something to the things you're doing. So long story short, after working a bit as a therapist in Finland and starting to incorporate interactions with horses and animals in my work there, eventually I ended up back at the university where I graduated from. And from there, I eventually was hired for a associate professor position at a university in the US. And all of a sudden, my work, both in mental health and my interest in psychology and more specifically human trauma, coincided also with my interest in horses as part of this. So bringing the pieces from my childhood and youth together with my career trajectory. Because the position that I was hired for was again, in a department of psychology and counselor education, and as an associate professor, so a faculty member who would advise students, teach all of those things, but also to develop studies in how to include horse interactions in therapy for therapists. And that brings us really, and I'm going to share my screen here momentarily for the rest of my time. That brings us to where I am today, which is at University of Denver. I'm a faculty member there. And I'm also director of equine programs at the Institute for Human-Animal Connection, which is an educational and research institute at the university. And my work right now encompasses education, research, and clinical work, and in the two primary areas of therapeutic human-horse interactions and horse welfare and behavior, horses in communities. And as we heard from Catherine just earlier, in terms of working hard, networking, and finding ways to start building even parts of your own positions, this was the case for me too, because I was asked to come to the University of Denver and I was asked to give input. What would you like this particular position to look like? And that was a result of, again, me bringing together various parts of my professional interests, taking sort of the best parts of it. I really pushed to have part of my work be focused on equine behavior and horses in communities, not just the inclusion of horses in mental health and other human services, because this was something I had continued training in, postgraduate trainings, certificates, etc. And nowadays, I'm also a writing instructor. I do equine behavior consulting. I work on that side of things as well. But again, right now we're focusing on horses in human health. And the few career tips, which were so beautifully presented, have been beautifully presented so far, are really the same ones that I have. Look for opportunities and take them. Make opportunities, because sometimes there aren't any opportunities and you're the ones who are going forth, asking questions, engaging, thinking about this could work. I'm interested in this. Model what you're interested in. So if you're interested in a kind of equine training or rehabilitation or whatever it is, model that, do that, so to speak, at home, do it yourself, so that you can show you're proficient in this. And then draw on lived experience, meaning the things you've already had experience with, like my early career was around horses. So I was able to combine that with the formal training that's needed to become a healthcare professional, to become a therapist. So to get lived experience, you got to get out and get it. So seek those multiple opportunities for that. And remember to be professional and courteous in all interactions, even in quick text messages or emails, things like that. double check and what you're writing and be really respectful of people's time. And that way you appear as that colleague to somebody, and they might extend to you an opportunity. So I have a couple of minutes left, and I just wanted to spend them briefly letting you know about the areas that are involved when we're talking about horses in human health. And I look forward to your questions about this particular area. So we're going to look briefly here at 4 areas of horses in human health that are common here in North America. The first one is how physical therapists, occupational therapists, and speech language pathologists, these are different kinds of therapists who operate at the master's level or doctoral level, how they use equine movement, neuromotor inputs from the horse as part of their treatment. This is a treatment tool, not the treatment itself. And you can be part of treatment without being a physical therapist or OT or SLP, through being an assistant in the therapy session. You should know how to long line the horse and to be professional as part of healthcare. Another area that's also T for therapy, so to speak, is psychotherapy and mental health counseling. This is my area as well. You need to pursue a master's degree or a doctoral degree in this area to actually be the person who provides the healthcare treatment and includes horses. Sometimes there are assistants here to help manage logistical things, sometimes not. They are mostly paid, and you're typically paid by the hour as opposed to being, contracted in a longer sense. So that's where you could be using your horse knowledge, but you have to be able to be professional in a healthcare setting as well. Similar to this, but outside of treatment, is the inclusion of horses in things like coaching or learning or facilitation. And here too, there could be assistance included, but it is a little bit unclear whether this would be a volunteer position or whether this would be paid. But you could already now, if you're interested in people, maybe pursue a coaching certificate. Start thinking about how to help people with simple things in their lives. And you could include interactions with horses in that process, but you would be focusing on the human. And then finally, something called adaptive or therapeutic riding. And this sounds like it would be therapy, but it's not. It's simply instruction of riding and horsemanship adapted to the person's ability. So this would include doing a specific training to be a riding instructor. And the training would involve some basic things about human health relative to disabilities that people might have who still want to recreate with horses, who still want to ride and learn about horsemanship. And this is something with your background in, say, equine science or equine studies, this is something that you could be focusing on already today. There are no advanced degrees needed to become an instructor in this area. So that's all for me and my time. And I look forward to more questions you might have about horses in human health.
Thank you so much, Nina, for taking the time to come and speak with all of us tonight. It's wonderful to see how horses can be incorporated and used in a variety of different career fields. I hope that students who are present tonight see that you do not need to become a rider or animal care personnel to work with horses, and that horses can be used by people in different job industries. Our 5th speaker for the night is Lindsay Nikonechny, who will be speaking about Equestrian Canada opportunities. Lindsay is the coordinator for the Equine Animal Care Assessment Program, currently working with the Director of Active Equine Industry and Development at the Equestrian Canada to develop a quality assurance program for equestrian facilities in Canada based on the National Farm Animal Care Council Equine Code of Practice. So please welcome Lindsay.
So thank you for the introduction and also the committee for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm really excited to be part of the panel discussion and chatting about some different career paths in the equine industry. There's a lot of evolving opportunities, which I think is really exciting news for our industry and basically anyone who's even thinking about entering the industry. So as mentioned, I am here representing Equestrian Canada, or otherwise referred to as EC. So for anyone who might be unfamiliar with our organization, EC is the national governing body for equestrian sport and industry in Canada. So we offer multiple programs and services. And we're probably most widely known for our sport licenses that are required for competitors at EC sanctioned competitions in Canada. We have over 18,000 sport license holders and 11 provincial and territorial sport organization partners, as well as over 10 national equine affiliate organizations. But for tonight, I'm just going to highlight two of our programs that can help folks develop a career in coaching or as a competition official or both, and also a future opportunity that is going to be available with our equine animal care assessment program. So if you are interested in becoming an equestrian coach and providing coaching services, you may be interested in the EC Coach Status Program, which I'm sure some of you might be quite familiar with. So EC provides coaches with training to make riding safe, inclusive, and enjoyable for everyone. So for example, the Coach Status Program includes safe sport training, and that's through our online eCampus. And that includes education on things like fostering healthy environments, concussion awareness, as well as first aid training. Other aspects of the program include things like screening measures, reviewing and acknowledging different EC policies, and also having adequate insurance, which is really important as a coach. So through the Coach Status Program, you can apply to become a registered coach or a licensed coach status. Basically, the major difference between the two is that a licensed coach requires a verified experience. So either through practical experience, education, or some sort of formal certification. And there are also a few additional screening measures as well. So by having this registered or licensed coach status, it shows that you have completed training, you meet minimum safety standards, and you're also adequately insured. So this is a really great way to demonstrate to your students or clients that you can provide safe coaching for them. And it's not only an education and training opportunity, but also a really good way to market yourself within the industry too. There's also the EC NCCP or National Coaching Certification Program. EC is the NCC partner for equestrian sport in Canada. The Equestrian National Coaching Certification Program offered through EC includes things like training modules and an evaluation that you can take to become certified as an instructor, a competition coach, a coach developer, and a few others, which are all listed on our website. EC also recognizes other different certifications that are offered through organizations like CANTRA, the Canadian Horsemanship Association, as well as the Canadian Pony Club, and there's a few others as well. The EC NCCP certification program, it's a mouthful, includes formal training and also independent assessment of your coaching competencies and professional development. Whereas the Coach Status Program provides recognition for coaches and verifies that they are screened, insured, and trained in safety measures, regardless if they have a formal certification or not. So if you are interested in either the coach status or certification programs, you can definitely check out our website. There's contact information for you there to get in touch with our team for some more details. The two programs work in tandem with each other, which I understand can be a little bit confusing at times. So please don't hesitate to reach out to our staff for any clarification or assistance if you are interested. The other opportunity that might be of interest is applying for an EC official status. There are different types of officials, some of which include competition judges, stewards, course designers, and that's just to name a few. The types of officials will vary depending on the type of discipline or breed competition. So for example, there are different types of officials needed for show jumping versus driving versus a dressage competition. So becoming an EC official requires an application, and the application requirements will vary depending on the type of official that you're applying for. So again, if you take a look at our website, you can definitely find more details about each type of official and what exactly is required to apply and maintain that EC official status. And then lastly, I'd like to recommend and create some awareness about a future EC opportunity with our animal care assessment program. So we are developing a quality assurance program that will provide recognition granting services for equestrian facilities in Canada. So the aim of this program is to verify that facilities are meeting the requirements in the National Code of Practice through a document review process, as well as an on-site assessment. So this will be the first animal care assessment program for horses in Canada, which is really exciting. And the goal is really to elevate the welfare of horses, support continuous improvement in management practices, and provide recognition for facilities so they can use that for marketing purposes. So to support this program, we're going to be developing a training program that will develop qualified assessors to evaluate different equine facilities across the country. So we will be looking to train assessors in various provinces across the country, as this will be a national level program. I don't have exact timelines as to when it will be officially offered, but do keep your eyes peeled, as it will be announced in our EC communications when the training opportunity is available in the near future. So I'm very close to my time here. That's a basic overview of some of the career opportunities that are available or will be available through EC. If you have any specific questions about the coach or officials program, I may have to refer you to our sport operations team, as it's not my direct area of expertise, but I can certainly do my best to answer questions about those two programs, or if you are curious about the equine animal care assessment program.
Thank you so much, Lindsay, for taking the time to come and speak with us tonight. I hope that everyone takes a look at the current opportunities that Equestrian Canada has to offer. Our last speaker for the evening is Brandon Hall, who will be speaking about Ontario Equestrian provincial opportunities. Brandon Hall is the current Director of Marketing and Communications at Ontario Equestrian. Starting at a local riding school, he rode with many coaches who helped develop him to win the meters 10s division at provincial championships. He has ridden for owners in hunter and equitation classes on the A circuit, leading him to his passion of developing young horses. In 2016, Brandon turned professional and started his own training business, Hall & Co Equestrian, operating out of Lake House Stables in Ashburn, Ontario. Please welcome Brandon Hall.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you to the Equine Industry Symposium for having me here today. Listening to a lot of the panelists this evening, it's been kind of eye-opening, and I feel like I'm looking at a little bit of my own biography here. Catherine, you and I both kind of started in the vet industry, and it's led our way to where we are now. Natalie, you've inspired me to write a murder mystery for equestrians. I'm totally on board for that one. Hopefully you can help me out. Nina, you talked a lot about making opportunities through lived experiences, and that's something I'm going to touch on as well tonight. And Lindsay, I feel like we have a very, very similar role. Yours just probably has a little bit more pressure on you than mine. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to get to kind of the path that has led me to where I am now. And the first survey that happened, or the poll that happened earlier in the webinar, was finding out that there are a lot of students currently attending. So I'm glad to hear that, because as someone who's in their 30s, has had different opportunities thrown at them, but also didn't know where the heck I was going to land, I feel like it is relevant to what you're probably feeling. And even if you're not a student, hopefully this will inspire you a little as well. So 2 points that really have stuck with me. One, when I was in high school, I was told by a business teacher that by the time you retire, you're probably going to have 3 to 4 different industries that you're going to be within. So the career that you thought you were going into after college or university is probably going to be different from that of what you're currently in. And then the other one was my dad, who said, you know, never jump into a job unless you've kind of found out the good, bad, and the ugly of that industry, to make sure that the good outweighs the bad and the ugly, and that your passion stays strong. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit about how I got to where I am now. So very much like Catherine, I started doing a part-time job at a general practice referral small animal clinic while I was going through high school and post-secondary. I ended up going to school for a 3-year advanced program in hotel management and event planning. And again, I was still working at that small animal vet clinic. And when I graduated, I was hired by that small animal vet clinic to help them open their dream facility of a 16,500 square foot emergency referral clinic. So that was my first taste of rebranding, marketing, communications. And I did about 3 years with them, leading to a very successful business for them. From there, I moved downtown and I was recruited by my dentist, who was opening up their 3rd dental practice. And he wanted me to help open it, but also rebrand the other 2 practices. He was going for that full monopoly effect. And I learned again that I had a passion for the marketing, communications, branding side of things, but I really, and I hope there's no dentists on this call, but I really did not like the dental industry. Even though I flossed, it was not a winning recipe for me. So after I finished about 6 months with them, I found what used to be the old OEF, a position that downgraded me actually from a management position to an executive assistant role. And I think for anyone on here, you never want to downgrade, but if you can see that there's potential for you to move forward in that position, you're going to work yourself up, hopefully, if there's opportunity, the ladder. So I became the executive assistant in a job or an industry that was my passion. And I think when you've got that passion, it fuels your fire to work even harder. And I ended up becoming the first sport development person within Ontario Equestrian Federation at the time, to then the position that I currently am as the Director of Marketing of Ontario Equestrian. And I always joke that it's the one F word I really truly don't like, which is federation. And that's what happened with the rebrand that I was lucky enough to be a part of doing. So outside of the office job, I ended up dropping my amateur status and became a part-time professional as I worked full-time at OE. I then started a sales program out of Lake House Stables and did a little bit of provincial course design and became a licensed and certified competition coach, very much like Lindsay was talking to earlier. So from what I learned in that pathway, it was very easy for me to appreciate both what my teacher told me back in a business class, but also what my father taught me, which is make your passion your career. So what will get you up every morning? No matter if you love your job or not, you're going to have those weeks where you just question, should I? And I think as long as you have a passion, you're still going to get up out of bed and slug through whatever hiccup is happening in your week. Get creative about aligning your skills with the career opportunities within an industry. And I believe, Nina, you talked about that as well. And one of the bigger ones is don't be afraid to let your guard down and learn new skills. So if you're not currently in a position that you're loving, I don't think there's anything wrong, and you shouldn't hold back from breaking the barriers to get out there and try something new. Volunteer and shadow someone. And Christine Rucky, she talks about this all the time in becoming an official. And when you're a judge, you need to go and shadow people. And I think that's a great example and resource to keep in mind, regardless if you're going to try and be an official or not. Get out there and shadow someone who's in a job that you think you want to be a part of, so that you can then appreciate the good, the bad, and the ugly. And an example for me is when I did the course design work, I wasn't aware of the time commitment that you have to commit to this on the day of your job, which is you're the first person there in the morning, well in advance of everyone else. and you're the last person to leave, because then you've got to tear down your course that you did that day and build for the next day. So your wage can be very rewarding in that role, but the time commitment, you've really got to be passionate about it to slug through what could be, an 18-hour day. And then we've all kind of talked about this. It's a small industry, so you've got to arrive on time with passion, a strong work ethic. And having worked in many barns, being very close to many farm owners, horse people work hard, and they work their full day to break even. And then they work even harder to actually make an income. So if you're coming into a position, especially in the field, you've got to work, because if your boss is working 10 times harder than you and they don't see that passion and commitment, then you're not helping them get through the day where they're actually going to hopefully make some money. So if I can leave you with anything, it would be that. What I've broken down here is just, I've almost been with OE for approximately 10 years, which is hard to say, but very rewarding to have experienced. And in that time, I've kind of seen what in the field versus in the office jobs have become available. Some we obviously know and have talked about already today, but others like arena footing specialists. Everyone's getting that fiber footing. That fiber footing needs to be installed, and that fiber footing needs to be leveled every couple of years and maintained. When I look at construction and fencing, I think about System Equine and Dwayne Jobs, who started that whole business out of his garage. And now look at where he is now. Livestock shipper. There's a whole slew of things that come out of this. And then when you look at the in-office component, again, I think of Christine and her multiple hats that she wears. And just for the Royal itself, you've got social media where you don't just have a manager, but you have a bunch of people running around trying to capture all the moments that happen every day of the 10 days. Event fundraisers and sponsorships, web developer, horse show ribbon company, etc. Those are all things that fall into things that we don't think about, but could be very lucrative career paths for you as well. So I'm going to wrap it up because I keep getting told to hurry up by stating, connect your passion to your career, because you're going to need something that you love enough to keep driving forward and to make you successful. So with that, I know the panel is looking forward to your questions, and I hope that you have been inspired enough to think of enough questions to keep us going, because I was definitely inspired listening to everyone as well. So thank you, everyone, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Brandon, for taking the time to come and speak with us. Your experience and expertise in the equine industry is appreciated, and I hope folks tonight have also valued your presentation. This concludes our guest speakers for the evening. I hope many of you have broadened your interest and taken away information from the speakers to expand your current careers in some of the areas spoken about today. Now we will be moving into the Q&A session for our panelists for the evening. Please use the raising hand function on Zoom and wait to be called upon to ask your question. You are also able to ask your question using the chat box feature. Please keep all your questions appropriate. Our moderator for the session is Christine Rupke. Please welcome Christine.
Thank you. Thanks very much for having me back as the moderator for the Q&A session. I just want to start off by, there's a lot of common themes which we all spoke about from different viewpoints. And, you know, the theme of this whole session is opportunity. And the one thing I want to say is that sometimes opportunities present themselves to you, and sometimes opportunities you have to make your own and go look for your own. So in that instance, you know, learn how to say yes. If you get asked something and you don't know how to do it, say yes and figure out how to do it. You really have to kind of work to create your own opportunities. And I think that goes within every industry, not just the equine industry. So I'll get us going here on some questions. I know earlier on we did have a question from somebody who was posing this question for Natalie. So Natalie, our fiction writer, this one's for you. From Erica, is there an online community for equestrian fiction writers that you can maybe fill us in on?
Yeah, most of the writers that I converse with use Facebook groups. So if you're comfortable with Facebook groups, you will find a ton of resources in those. Specifically for horses, The one that I try to interact in the most is called Authors of Books for Horse Lovers, and it's run by Heather Wallace. And if you have any trouble finding that, you're welcome to look me up and I can point you in the right direction. It's not super active, but I would like it to be more active. So if you want to join, that would be great. And then two other groups that I really recommend if you're interested in independent publishing or seeing how ebook publishing works. One is called 20 Books to 50K, the K indicating like 50,000, like a salary. So 20 books to 50K using the numbers. And then the other one is called Wide for the Win. And that refers to the practice of not making your books exclusive to Amazon, which is a whole thing I won't get into. But both of those will give you a ton of information on independent publishing.
Super, that's great. Thank you. One of our other themes tonight too has been about learning and both theoretical and practical learning. And I always say learning is lifelong, and particularly when you're a professional horseman, a horse can teach you something every day of the week. And once you stop learning, you should get out of the industry. So learning is lifelong. And I believe it was Nina, you had said that, you need to be a good student. So be a good student in school, be a good student after school. I'm probably one of the older panelists here this evening, and I spend a lot of time continuing to learn. And sometimes I'll go on the U of G site and go learn there. I'll go to the FEI website and learn some stuff there. And Brandon mentioned that I'm a coach, so that's important for me too, as a coach and as an official. I need to keep learning and keep refining my skills. So I think that's super important. My question there for Catherine. So Catherine, if you could rejoin us again, we talked about learning. Could you maybe touch on again for us the practical versus theoretical learning, from a regular education, and what kind of influences each had on you?
I think I want to make sure I grasp your question entirely. But so you're referring to more like university-based education versus any of my additional like internships and things like that.
Yeah, how did those additional internships and additional outside the classroom learnings help you, going forward?
Oh, tremendously. Because theory is one thing. So one of the biggest difficulties, let's say, that I had after completing my master's is you learn an extreme amount of theoretical rehab protocols and things like that, but actually physically fitting that into an individual horse is really, really, is you have to just kind of figure it out and learn from other people. So a lot of that was based on my internships and talking to professionals that I've worked with or worked for to figure out how to like really specifically apply things to my horses. I think I'm a very academic minded person and I really enjoy the academic part of things, but your hands-on learning is extremely essential to actually being able to be in front of a client and convey what you're trying to convey and have them learn from you and apply things to their own horses. I hope that answers your question.
That was great. Yeah, thank you so much. Lindsay, we have a question from you, from Tiana. She wanted to know, are there going to be educational requirements for the equine animal care assessment program?
That's a great question. And I think they're referring to the assessor training component of it. And we're still having discussions about that. We're still honing in some of the details, but I know that it is going to be aimed towards like students. So students that have newly graduated from like animal science programs, equine science programs, that sort of thing, will certainly be part of the education requirements for that sort of position.
Great, thank you. And staying with you, we have another question from Georgia. So Georgia, thank you for submitting a question. She asks, how will farms benefit by being certified with the Equine Animal Care Assessment Program?
That's another great question. So there's kind of three that come to mind. So we will be offering like a logo graphic that will be given to facilities that are certified, so they can use that on their website or social media platforms, use it as a marketing tool to kind of distinguish themselves from other facilities. There's also going to be an online resource library. It will have templates for different protocols and records and other really important documents, such as preparedness plans. That will be requirements of the program. So they'll gain access to that. And then lastly, we're also holding some focus groups that will provide some insights into kind of what other incentives we can look at. So there's a few different advantages to participating, and we're certainly exploring others as well.
Great, thank you so much, Lindsay. Nina, you had a great discussion and were very informative. It's obviously you care very much about what you do, and maybe you could touch on what is the most rewarding component of what you do on a daily basis, if you could fill everybody in, because I think we all have a lot of passion for the horse, which is what brought us to the industry or the business originally. And it's that passion that really comes through in our group here tonight, I think, as well.
Yeah, you know, for me, I was just having this conversation today actually with a colleague of mine. And for me personally, the way I work with human animal interactions or human horse interactions, as well as with people, I'm a trauma trained therapist, for instance. So I work with human trauma and very interested in potential for trauma in horses too. I think about my work as I want to reduce harm and I want to increase comfort, both for horses in various settings, whether I do behavioral consulting with, let's say, a sport horse, or whether I work with people and I include horse interactions there in a way that really sort of respects everybody, let's say in a therapy session. So I would say the most rewarding parts of my work is really living my values through my work, and also wanting to spread the good word, so to speak, on science and horses. Even, you know, as a therapist to include horse interactions, I have to be accurate and not make stuff up, you know, about horses and their behavior. So yeah, I would say all of it, because I get to have a very broad work picture. So thanks for that question.
Great, thank you so much. I want to move on to Brandon now, because Brandon touched on, you know, a lot of different things in the industry. So Brandon, if you could join us, you know, maybe perhaps you could give some advice, because you have a lot of background in a lot of different segments, for somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience with horses, but really wants to get involved and wants to get into the industry. How would you suggest they could start? Because you did touch on some mentorship programs and things like that, or some official or not official programs. How would you suggest somebody get involved?
It's a great question. I think the biggest thing is finding something that you are naturally interested in and letting that person know if they're in a position to give you that experience or guide you in the direction of what that experience could be. And just putting yourself out there. The amount of people that will write to us at Ontario Equestrian, again, it keeps connecting back to you, Christine, volunteering at the Royal. That is a huge opportunity, because when you're there, think of the 300,000 people that are coming in all the time. You're more than likely going to bump into someone that maybe your idol, maybe you had no idea is the person behind the scenes that is running the event that you are obsessed with. It's the best social gathering to meet and greet and just network. So again, putting yourself out there and not being afraid to send that timely, appropriate email, or just asking if you can connect at an event to have a chat.
Totally, I think that's great advice. You took away my plug for getting volunteers and staff for the Royal, but that's okay. So stay with me, Brandon. I have a question here from Nicole, and she would like to know, this is for you specifically, how does Brandon manage his career and his professional riding? And the two-part is, what career path would best complement a professional riding career?
Oh, okay. Well, how much time do you have? You know,
4 minutes.
Ooh. The biggest thing is, again, people have been saying it all this evening, is taking advantage of opportunity. And that's really what happened to me, is I found a little bit of a niche market of riding horses that most people wouldn't even be willing to be paid to sit on. And that's kind of been my livelihood since I was 10 years old is I'll ride the one that's out in the back that you can't put a halter on. And that just gave me an opportunity to become a professional and ride those types of horses and be paid for it. Of course, watching for my amateur status. So to be able to do those things, it grew to, one ride a week to 3 stalls at a farm and a full support team behind me of the owner of the property. And then, there's always the barn rats that want to help as well. So managing both the OE full-time job and then the part-time riding is you build a community of people that share an interest. And as long as they're working hard and you're rewarding them, people come to you, and you'll maybe lose people along the way, but the right committed people will stay with you. And I'm grateful to say I've had committed people for at least 10 years watching me ride the feral animals you can't put a halter on. So really it's opportunity, hard work, and communication, I'd say.
That's great, Brandon. Thank you. And I think, one of the tributes to you having your clientele for such a long time, and we've touched on it before. I think it could have been Nina or Catherine, conducting yourself in a way that is professional, with integrity, with honesty, and with a work ethic. And that will get you far, because people notice those things. Those of you who want things handed to you, this is not the industry maybe for you. You have to work hard and create opportunity and use those experiences. You touched on a great thing, Brandon, when you said, you downgraded and maybe it was a sidestep in your career, but you chose to change your tack a little bit in order to gain experience doing something else, right? And those experiences kind of lend themselves to where you go from here, even if you decide this is not what I want to do, but it actually maybe settles that in your mind. So I think that's a really good piece of advice as well. Well, I think we're here now. We'll go back to Nina. So Nina, this one's for you. I think it's from Lonnie. Forgive me, Lonnie, if that's not the correct pronunciation of your name. Lonnie would like to know, what college or university courses do you need for the horse-human therapy?
Right. And this will depend on what kind of human healthcare professional you will want to become. So if you want to be the person who provides therapy in the human realm, so to speak, or the human industries like healthcare, then you sort of have 2 broad areas to choose from here. And this is all at a graduate level, so master's or doctoral in some cases. So building on perhaps your undergrad experiences if you have those already. So either looking to become a physical therapist, occupational therapist, or speech language pathologist. These folks tend to use the movement of the horse as a treatment tool as part of how you're trained to work, again, at a master's level, so an advanced level. Or if you're interested in mental health, there are a few professions who provide psychotherapy, where you can become a registered psychotherapist in Canada, for instance, if that's where you are at. And then you include horse interactions there. If you're not looking to be the person who actually does the service, who's sort of paid to provide that healthcare, then it's more about, do you want to assist in a session? And I can tell you, as a therapist who's worked with students, I mostly have worked with interns, honestly, who are on their way to becoming a therapist, because then they can get experience kind of in that treatment environment. But you don't need a separate university degree to assist in one of these sessions. Some of those positions are paid, some of them are not. But if you're interested in general, I recommend that you look for learning opportunities in human-animal interactions or human-animal connections. Those tend to be certificates, or not like degrees in themselves, but more professional development offerings. And there's a number of them, and you're welcome to contact me. I'll put my email in the chat, and I can help you find some of those as well.
Super, Nina. Thank you so much. We're getting close to our end time here, but I have a question I want to get to. It came quite early. This is from Netson. And Netson says, it seems there's a theme that there are 2 sides of the equine career options, the science and the business. Is there another? And Natalie, our journalist, our fiction writer, Natalie, if you could step in here, please, because I think that there's a creative component here that we haven't touched on in terms of science and business. The creative component maybe encompasses a little bit of both of the other components, but maybe you want to touch on that for us.
There are many, many ways to look at the creative side of the equestrian business. And I work with a lot of people who are photographers or fine artists, or even people who work in, say, marketing and are developing copy and content for different social media channels every day. There's always going to be a business component. You're going to have to figure out how to make it pay. But whether you're designing stickers with people's horses on them, or you're painting oil paintings of racehorses, or or writing copy for an equine architect, which is how I got started writing blogs and figuring out that, hey, you can make money writing about horses. There's definitely creative opportunities around every single corner. So that's the third one for me.
Great. Thank you so much, Natalie. Before I give it back to our MC, Kirtan, I just want to touch on, this has been really, really rewarding for me to take part in. I'm a big fan of either professional mentorship or mentorship if somebody just wants to ask a question. So I will also put my Royal email in the chat. So if anybody has specific questions, whether they're to the Royal or ways to get involved in business, or if you want to volunteer or intern at the Royal, we're always looking for good people. So I will put my email in there as well. And, as I've been kind of going through tonight, listening to everybody, it's really, really rewarding and exciting. And these are the words I wrote down. I wrote down excited, rewarding, and passionate, and inspirational. So I hope that everybody here who has been a panelist, they've all been eloquent, great speakers. And I've hoped they've inspired you guys to go on and continue in your learnings and stay within the industry. There are so many different opportunities for you guys. If you didn't get your questions answered, we'll probably try and get to them via email. So just put them in the chat box and let us know who they're for. And perhaps our moderators can send that to each of the panelists. So I will do that. Kirtan, I'll turn it back over to you. And thanks so much for everybody joining us here.
Thank you, Christine, for moderating the Q&A session, and thank you to all the guest speakers for answering all of our questions. Before we conclude the evening, in recognition of the time and expertise our speakers have lent to this evening, we will be making a donation to an equine charity in each of their names. The charity will be chosen by you, the audience, based on your votes. You will now see a list of options in the poll. The winning charities will be posted on our Facebook and Instagram page, so please check them out. Also, we have feedback surveys that we would really appreciate if you can fill out and provide us with feedback to improve our next equine industry symposium. The feedback survey will be sent out to each and every one of you via email. There will also be a direct link put in the chat box. I would like to take this time to thank again KX 94.7 New Country FM for their support towards the equine community and their sincere sponsorship. Here is a final video message from them. This concludes the 6th Annual Equine Industry Symposium 2021. We would like to thank all our guest speakers that joined us today. We would also like to thank KX 94.7 New Country FM for sponsoring this event. Finally, we would also like to thank the entire Equine Industry Symposium Organizing Committee and all the BBRM Equine Management students for putting together and organizing this event. Thank you all for listening, and we hope all of your questions about the careers in equine industry have been answered and that you learned about new and exciting opportunities. This session has been recorded and we will be uploading it to our BBRM YouTube channel. Once again, thank you all for making this evening possible and wonderful. We look forward to seeing all of you next year. Have a great week, everyone.